How exciting. Treps are going on. A few things we want to do, put the treps on, adjust the handbrake so we can put the handbrake bash plate back on. All the gear oils have been done, the diffs, the transfer gearbox. Got a bit of an issue, I'm still taking in water in the rear diff from the last run, I think. So what we'll do is we'll probably do 1,000 Ks and then I'll drop it again, change it again. So let's get these treps on. Now before we take the wheel off, I've got a bit of a stick here. And I just want to show you. So this is a 0 offset 8-inch wide rim, 315/75/16. It's the GXL with the flare. Now that there is the perfect, it's touching, it's perfect, have a look. Look down that line, touching the tyre, top and bottom, touching the flare. So that's legal. Saw me yesterday using this high lift jack point to change the coils. Changing the tyres, we go under the diff. We just use a bottle jack of some sort and pick the diff up. Probably need to go maybe 15 mil higher than the tyre of this one. So Nick got me some new wheel nuts. They're chrome and they're full, so they cover the end of the thread. The good thing about these is they're a 22 mil head. So they're the big head. They're not the 19 or 3/4 inch head. Check the bearing while we're in here. Feels good. Still got to do the other side because it might be just a little bit up, but this will give us a gauge. Okay. So we're touching a lug, and we're about 6 mil out. So it's just the sidewall tread that's putting us out. Pretty good, happy with that. I really like that colour too. Skies have opened up, that's not going to stop us. Change your clothes already. Gonna get these on. I'll drive it for a day and then check the nuts again. While this wheel's off the ground, we've chocked the front. What we'll do is we'll throw it in neutral, pop the handbrake off, and I'll adjust that handbrake so I can put the bash plate back on. Adjusters at 9 o'clock, and both sides have an arrow to remind me which way it is to tighten. So it's driver to passenger way. We don't want it too tight. It was okay already. Handbrake's awesome. I believe in maintenance. Maintenance prevents carnage. The more you look, the more you find. Look at this rubber, it's perished. That one up there too. I think I've got a couple of spares. May as well change them while I'm dirty. I get sidetracked. The object of the morning was to get the traps on. Still got this one to do. Another important maintenance thing is tail shaft bolts. No one's come loose. Got to get the high lifty out again. There's something else two more things that I need the high lifty for. One of them is something shell picked on the last episode. And the second one is something that woke me up in the middle of the night. Let's see what they are. So Shell was a bit annoyed at me when she saw the video. My attention to detail is slipping a bit. I didn't treat the surface rust here under the coil. So it's something I would normally do. So we'll just rub it back and paint it black. There we go, honey. Hope you're happy. Something that came to my attention during the night, and I was a bit worried about it, to be honest. Even though it steers all good, I'm worried about my bushes now on the arms. So they're a superior setup for a 2-inch coil. Now that I've gone a little bit more, what I want to do is take some weight off them. It should be all right. I mean, you can lift a standard car 20 mil without doing bushes, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to undo all the bolts with a bit of weight off the car. Anything that's pivoting on the diff, I'm just going to undo them and then set the car back down with all the weight on it and do them back up. So, you know, what we've done is we've stretched it basically up. We've lifted it up, so we've stretched these bolts in their bush. So I'm just going to back them off. I thought of it during the night, it might work. I'm just going to back them off, let it sit where it wants to sit, put all the weight on the truck back on it, and then nip them back up. So we've got those two on the passenger side and we've got one on the driver's side, and I'm going to do the back of the arm here. Just going to undo it all, sit the car back down, and then do them up, so that I haven't forced anything by going up that extra inch. Maybe overthinking it, but I thought of it last night. I don't want to flog these bushes out any sooner than they have to be flogged out. All the bolts are loose now, so we can bring this down. Basically, his job's finished now too. He can go back on the back of bullet truck. These are 2 exhaust rubbers that I found. I'm not sure where they're from, but they'll fit. They measure up the same. They might have been from the factory. They could be factory mounts. They probably are. There's your paint. So these would have been what I took off when I first put that exhaust system on, you know, like the car was only a few months old, so I was happy enough to find them. We'll put them on. You got the bits and pieces. It's maintenance again. Might need 2 hands for this. It's not too bad, but this one looks better. This one that I've taken off as well, I've got to undo the 2 bolts from the top. That one looks definitely like it's been squashed. Little bit of a punish, but we got them in. So we had to basically work together, and because there's only a short distance, it was a little bit unhappy. But anyway, they're in. I even found new nuts for those brackets. The other thing I found in that bag were these gaskets, and they look like the same shape as those. So I've obviously bought them in the past. So that's a job for another day. Oh, the more I look, the more I don't want to know about looking. So see the rust on that shaft? If this tyre flexes a bit more up travel than it currently is, this could wreck that seal. So I'll have to get some emery paper and give that a wipe. But they're done. So all I've got to do now is bolt up those arms and get off this creeper. First drive on them, and they drive good. Apart from the noise, it reminds me of back in the days when we used to drive the centipedes on the road. There's that humming noise. So we're sitting on about 34 PSI. They're steering nicely as a new tyre would. They're braking. The brake's probably just a little bit fade, call it. There's just that little bit of extra rotation. The power side of it, I don't feel any different. There's a couple of hills that I'll go up in 3rd gear. That's kind of my gauge. And yeah, the power wise, it's pulling good. It's steering good. I've been up to 80k an hour and it's balanced good. So the track's the same, it's all good. What we'll do this Saturday coming is we'll go out and do a little bit of a day trip in the bush, take on some rocks, air them down. There's 16 millet tread in the center of these from new. You can see it's just slightly starting. This is the heat coming into the tyre. But there's been torrential rain in Sydney and they've held the road quite nicely, to be honest. I thought I'd be skating a bit more with no sway bar especially, but they've handled well. Quite rounded. We've got 36 PSI in them and they're not a flat surface, so you're on the road more in the center lugs. You can see here the wear mark on those two lugs there, as opposed to this corner block isn't getting much road use. So I don't know if that means I've got to air these down a bit more, but it'll be a good test to see how much we take off in the couple of thousand Ks that we put on them. Also in the back's not really doing that. The back, there's quite a bit of wear in the center blocks. The outside blocks are getting a little bit. So once we put the weight of the van on these for that long run we're gonna do, I'm interested to see how they perform. But we'll be airing them down to about 16, 18 pound this weekend when we do that run on Saturday. Not a sticky compound like we're running on the Bullet. So they're more of a road friendly, they call it an 80-20. So the 20 is the road, obviously road friendly. They're still a wicked looking tyre. They've really handled the wet conditions surprisingly well. You just got to remember though that you're 10% out on the Speedo, on the factory Speedo, with their 35, 12.5, 16. But yeah, they're really gripping well. No sway bar too. So we got the bash plate back on for the handbrake. I've sanded up the shafts there on the shocks, so there's no surface rust bulging out anymore. And apart from that bash plate, this tail shaft being the lowest thing means we had to find our spare. Another thing I want to mention, your winches in your bull bar. No, not all waterproof. This TJM one, it states it in the instructions when you buy it, the purchase instructions. So I always try and run one once a month. You know, alternatively go out four-wheel driving and use them. But this trip we're doing, I mean, the skies have really gone grey this week in Sydney, so there's going to be a lot of water where we're going. 90% chance I'm going to need this winch. So all I do is just run it out and run it back in. Get the whole length out. You get to get all your bird's nests, knots all out of it. You get to check the road. So when we were kids, you know, 30 years ago, we took part in a couple of winch challenge series where there was the Warn, there was the Extreme, there was the Atico. You know, our first winch when I was 20, my first winch was like nearly $3,000. Winches are cheap these days, you know, everybody makes them. You can buy a 9,000 pound for $600. You can even buy them at Audi. But they're not as serviceable as they used to be. You know, we used to swap out motors, beef them up. These days, half of them aren't even waterproof. On them from time to time because we've saved quite a few people over the past few years, you know, that their winch didn't work. It worked last time I used it, which was, you know, like being in the bull bar for 2 years. You'll be amazed how easy that is to pull out on free spool when you want to run it out. Maintenance, a big wet, so I'm not sure how much footage we're going to get out here today, but I just wanted to show you we're sitting on 100, so 90 is actually 100 with the Speedo, and the tyres are handling the wet weather fine. The steering wheel's nice and straight, no wobbles, so the tyres are actually quite nice on the road. Just pulled up in a servo so that we could have a bit of cover to air down. So what we're going to do, we're going to air down here. We're not far away from where we're going to lock the hubs in. And also what I'm going to do, they've only just been freshly balanced and they're driving beautifully. So I've taken a photo of each wheel with where the weights are and I've marked it on the rim. Just so if we do have a wobble coming out, at least I can eliminate whether the wheels have been, the weights have been moved or not on each wheel. So we're going to go down to 18 PSI. Even at 18 pound in these conditions, the tyres are handling exceptionally well. It's really wet in here. This all this water runs down to a little sort of creek and it looks like it's gushing down there.
That was so close. Oh, eats it. Eats it up. Look at those traps, gripping. Make me want to get a set.
You know what? I'm worried about the tree.
Well, we've got to go up high then. Slow. Oh. Oh, you should see those traps. Now turn away, slowly.
Not used to this high gear.
Yeah, I can tell.
I'm used to be core gear.
That
was awesome.
Those traps work so good. Turn into this rock. That.
Bag and that's all they can do.
Yeah, that's so good.
Mate, that
Come this way a bit.
So these coils were the bomb. Perfect choice. The 3-inch, the light duty. We had no scrubbage. It flexed good. It drives good on the road. Can't ask for more than that in a front suspension coil. Comfortable, soft. The progressive coil from EFS won me over.
Yep, that's off the ground.
Is it?
Yep.
Better flex than the bullet, isn't it? Alright, so what I want to see is...
Dad!
That's 250 mil, so that's a 10-inch Fox. That's all my travel. So what's limiting my travel is that shock. This is sway bar off. So we'll test it with the sway bar on next time we're out here, and that'll answer your questions on how much extra travel you'll get with the sway bar on or off. Nice flexion at 18, they're alright.
Yeah.
We're going to come up higher.
All good. Yep. So you can turn. Yeah, you're alright.
Stand over there so you can get there.
When this wheel drops, it'll be good.
You're good.
It doesn't drop. It's in the air.
It stays in the air.
Yeah. Oh, you need a coil rear. That's pretty good.
So on one of the wettest days Sydney has had for a while, our first test, our first off-road test on these tyres, and I'm really happy with them. Please join me in the next episode where I'll pick a better day. I'm going to come back out, we're going to wheel with the sway bar off, get some more measurements and find out exactly how much the sway bar limits off-roading and wheel travel. Subscribe for notifications for that one. And as always, thanks for watching.